TV.
Welcome.
Hi. Sherree.
Tonya.
Maria.
Sharon. And I'm Becky. And we're here today to talk to you again about a little bit more about vehicles in the dream. How the things that you're doing now may be the vehicle to your dream. And when you just also bought a vehicle, you have an expectation of that vehicle. If you buy a Toyota, you have an expectation that that car is going to last a long time. It's going to get you from point A to point B. If you buy a Mercedes, you're expecting to get some looks. You're expecting people to pay you attention because you got your Mercedes. You feel like you've arrived maybe to a certain degree. If you buy a minivan, you are expecting to do work. You're expecting to make things happen. You know, those SUVs, those are muscle power cars. Or if you get a little Mustang, muscle car, you just want to rip the road. So anyway, when we have these different things in our life or expectations of our vehicles or expectations of a job, let's talk about that. Like when you first landed a job that you did, that you either had that you loved, tell about the expectations of that compared to how it kind of ended up, but you had to keep pushing forward to get to where you wanted to go.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. The first job I had after college was at a bank, and I was in the Management Associates training program. And I was excited, and all of that really is a long name for I was a gopher with a beeper. They called me
A gopher with a beeper.
and the beeper went off, and I went and fixed whatever was wrong. That's all I was. I was a gopher with a beeper. And so I'll never forget my first meeting. I expected it to be, I was going to learn a lot, and I was going to be treated fairly, and, everything was going to be coming up roses. And I went to the very first meeting. I got there early. I had my tablet, my notepad, and the very first thing that I was asked was, how did I get my hair so straight?
Was that, did you have any, were you working at a salon?
No, I worked at a bank. How did I get my hair so straight?
Who asked you that?
My manager.
What?
And I replied, keeping in mind what my grandmother said, that I carry all on my shoulders all of my family,
right.
So I did not want to be very rude, but I did say that it was my understanding that this was a business meeting, and it was not my understanding that we were there to discuss my personal hygiene. And at that point, it was quite tense, and it was tense there for the entire 2 years that I worked there. And it was tense from the time I got in my car and pulled onto the parking lot, until I got in my car and pulled off of the parking lot for 2 years. And I actually was promoted out of that situation. Because of the way, I think it was because of the way I handled myself. I did my job, I did it well, and I hated it every day I went to work. Every single day, I hated it. Yeah, so again, there's that vehicle that I thought was going to be absolutely wonderful. Right. And sometimes you just, the lemon law. You get a used car and it's a lemon.
Yeah.
You just have to ride that, and you just have to, like you were talking about with your car, you just have to use some duct tape. You have to paint it. You have to take that lemon and make it look like a bumblebee. And you just have to do with it, make it the best you can, and use it to get you to a better situation, instead of saying, I hate it, and I just get a nasty attitude and end up getting fired, and then you don't go anywhere.
Right.
Use it to your benefit so that you can get promoted to a better situation.
Right.
So that was that vehicle.
How about you, Becky?
Well, I have a story that when I first, my first, let's say, real job out of college, I moved out of state. I moved to Chicago for the job. It was really exciting for me. But when I got there, I was all alone. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any family or anything in Illinois. I just by myself, determined to work hard. But when I got there, I became familiar with something I'd not really experienced before, and that was sexual harassment.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And that was back in the day when there weren't laws about it. But it was awful. It was awful in the way that it was so blatant. It was embarrassing. It was humiliating. It wasn't just me. There had been other, as I learned, there had been other women before me that were particular targets of this, and I can't express how awful it was for me, in the sense that that's not what I was about. I came there to work. I came there in good faith that I had a job that I was going to be good at and that I had a contribution to make, but I couldn't help but feel it was overshadowed by this person, power and authority, just not really caring about much but himself and wanting what he wanted.
Wow.
And so, talk about what to do. This was my career. I was just, I was on a corporate staff, but it was, I didn't have real power. So what happened was that I had to rely on my gut instincts, and you couldn't make a complaint back then. It just wasn't, it was just, you were kind of in that situation, and he was the very head of the company. He was chairman and CEO. Oh my God. Well, but I moved for this job. I didn't know what else to do, so what I did was make the best of it and work my ass off and be in a constant, yes, I said it.
That's it.
I had to be in a
It's
state
okay,
where
it's in the Bible.
That's what we was talking about. That's what we was talking about.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Because we might have minors watching.
I just had to work really hard and prove myself. Work really hard and prove
That's
myself.
rough. Yeah. That's awesome.
What about you?
For me, it was once I had gotten older, and going into entrepreneurship was what I found a lot more freedom in, to a certain extent. And it came with its struggles. When you're dealing with music, you're dealing with artists, you're dealing with producers. It's just so many aspects to it. You have to get this music out there, and a lot of times you're dealing with people who think that all they have to do is just go to the studio and and the song is going to get out on the radio, when in all essence that takes money and it takes work. And so I had done ESPN Charlotte about a year or so before we started, and when I got on the radio, that's when I kind of realized, I said, I like this. This is something I can do. And, but it ended, and then of course we went into music, and, it was very eye-opening when you're a boss, you're dealing with people, and you're trying to help them achieve this. They're trying to get here to this big dream that we're talking about, because you have 3 artists and everybody wants to be famous, and everybody wants it to be about them. So if you start off with one, then you're having a problem with other people because they want to be there as well. So I found myself juggling. I mean, we juggled a lot of hats, and but I'm a person of detail. I'm great in the background. Being the center of attention is not something that I strive for. I'm about, let's get the job done, and how can we put this together? And I think the one thing that I really, really enjoyed was putting together the video that we did. And shout out to Anna, who has Dance District, because she African American owned dance studio in Charlotte. But I had her, we had the dancers. This particular video, I made the decision that it wasn't going to be strip club, it wasn't going to be the norm of what we do with African American videos. And I was able to pull everything together with this video, along with the fact that we got the music, got them in the studio, got the music laid, we got the music on iTunes. So they have music out there on iTunes right now as we speak. Video, a few of the videos are out on YouTube. But that, for me, and even though, things didn't go, here's where we get to that point of the expectations. And where I was looking at it one way, and, I started to realize, and this is not a bashing, but I realized that men do things differently than we do. And when you're putting yourself in a position where you're dealing with, because no matter what, hip-hop industry, women are there, but it's a male-dominated industry.
Absolutely.
And, whether it was DJs or whether it was producers or whoever it was, you're dealing with men in the way they think and the way they handle things. And so, I had certain expectations of how I wanted things to go, but other people had expectations of how they wanted it to go. So at that point, you still want things to work, so you have to try to adjust. And as a woman, this is what we have to do. Whether it's our family, our children, no matter what, we gotta adjust. And sometimes it's on the fly. And when you're in a business and you're running it, you can't, I didn't make waves when I'm looking at something and I know that this shouldn't be happening right now, but it's happening. And, but for the sake of keeping respect for yourself and for the people that work with you, you have to try to iron the situation out and then work with it behind the scenes.
You can't have a temper tantrum on everyone else.
Exactly. So, what I realized in that whole part of my journey was that you really have to go in with, sometimes you got to drop all the expectations. And that's with, whether it's a marriage, whether it's there's certain, if you put expectations on people, you can't, and they don't deliver, now you're upset, but that person never could deliver. Because they could never reach that expectation that you have.
Right.
Because that's your expectation.
Yes.
So it's more so of, I got to the point where I had to drop all of that. And you're on this train and you're trying to figure out where am I headed? Am I going to LA, or am I going to Alaska, or am I headed to Italy?
On the midnight train to
Georgia. Yeah, exactly. But and even though things didn't work out the way I wanted it to, and some things didn't work out the way other people wanted it to, because they had their expectations of how they wanted it to go.
Yes.
You know, but everybody's expectations just couldn't work together.
There was
You
no
know.
single vision.
Right. And you know, and I don't know, sometimes it's communication with people, and you know, sometimes you have to communicate with people from the beginning what your expectations are, and if they're not on that train with you, then you need to get off right here.
I used to say, if you are getting ready to get married and you want to go bungee jumping, you need to let them know, I think I'm going to go bungee jumping one day.
Let's go ahead and get this insurance policy together and make sure that you're insured.
Because, you know, you might want to go bungee jumping, and they're like, well, you never told me.
That's
you
right.
want to go bungee jumping.
I didn't know you were that kind of person.
Yeah.
The bungee jumping kind of person.
Yeah, so you need to let them know, like, whatever is your farthest stretch of imagination.
Yeah.
So they can't say, well, you never told me you wanted to go bungee jumping. I hadn't even thought about going bungee jumping yet. But, you know, one of my experiences for expectations was a job I had in Virginia. And I was working at a hospital. I was working at a oncology center at a hospital. So when I went in, my expectation was basically I was running the front desk. You know, I was just running the front desk. I'm expecting to just check in clients so they can be serviced in the oncology area for oncology services. For image recovery, which covered everything from prosthetics to wigs to skincare to lymphedema garments, anything dealing with the medical side and dealing with image, but on a medical, type of genre. And when I went in, you know, I was planning on running the front desk, and I thought, you know, that's good. So, but what happened, like Shay was mentioning earlier, how you work hard no matter what your job is. You know, if you find yourself working hard and trying to make things better, like when you have 15, 20 minutes of nothing to do, well, there's always something to do. Because if your boss was there, wouldn't they show you something that needs to be done? So it's nice if your boss walks in and you've already done it without them telling you to,
right.
And that brings forth promotion. So I went in as a coordinator, and when I left, I was managing the oncology department and having another boss. I had 6 bosses in 3 years because they all would come and leave because their expectations were not being met.
Right.
So learning from each and every one of those bosses, and then having one boss, I called him my angel, he saw that I wanted to be productive, but I wasn't maybe doing it the best of my to help myself. I was just helping everybody else. He said, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. I'm not going to just give you busy work. So he had me doing the Kairos and Chronos for the whole oncology department, payroll, all these kind of things, which was so nice because everybody doesn't want to mentor you.
Right.
And, you know, that's a big thing. You know, nowadays people are not really mentoring people as much unless they're really trying to make you a partner or promote you or something like that. But the art of mentorship used to be more of a lifestyle, like an American lifestyle was mentorship. You know, I'm going to bring you along because you're going to make everything around us better. You know, the more people that know more are going to do better. You know?
Right.
So that lost art of mentorship, and that's why I wrote my book, is because I felt really bad for young people that don't have anybody speaking into their life. They don't have anybody, you know, really talking in their ear about what direction to go in. And especially if you get in the retail arena, that's like, you know, the hamster wheel. So, you know, I felt like my way of giving back would be to tell you, you know, give you a mentorship in that arena, or you can use it for other arenas. But basically, we're working at that oncology center, and then also doing television for the oncology center. We would go down to the TV station and film to talk about the programs that we had and everything like that. And then one thing birthed another. You just keep birthing. So I had no expectation going in as a receptionist that I would come out like a director, you know, which was a great experience. But the biggest thing that I got out of that, expectation-wise, was actually relationships. Because I'm not, normally I wasn't a talker.
What?
Yeah. I wasn't a talker. I really was. I was a cheerleader. But I wasn't a talker, you know. And I had been called out. You know, like my ex, he called me out. He said, you know, to be a friend, you have to, you know, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. I'm like, I am a friend. What, you know, what's wrong with my friendship? He's like, you don't talk to anybody. But I didn't know. I didn't know, you know. So I had to really communicate more and, you know, and tell people your expectations and set some different criteria for things like that. So, you know, that it made a huge difference. So I think that expectation, that was an eye-opening experience. So.
My turn?
Yes, it is your turn.
I think mine was my vehicle to success was my first job working for Kohl's as a makeup artist.
Yes.
Kohl's makeup artist. Have you guys seen makeup in Kohl's department?
Yeah, you know what? I actually went in there about a week ago, and I did see somebody doing makeup, which I was surprised because I had never seen it.
That was 2004, I would say. And I was so excited to work at Kohl's in my training. We would go to like little hotels, learning how to do makeup. And then after 2 months, I quit.
Oh.
I didn't like it. Maybe it was just Kohl's. And then I started working at a billing company. It was like some electricity. I was doing billings. And I was there for 2 months. And besides doing billings and answering phones, I didn't know my job was to make some coffee and clean the restroom.
What, clean the restroom?
Oh.
And aside from that, I had this co-worker of mine would always boss me around to make coffees, run errands, all these things, bathroom and all that stuff. So, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this billing, answering phones, faxing and all that stuff. So I went back working inside Macy's. And when I went back inside Macy's, I got hired as a makeup artist for Chanel. And then so when I was working there, I had a boss. And she never liked me.
Oh.
She actually didn't like the way I wear my makeup. We had an event. She didn't like the way I wore my eyeliner. She didn't like my nail polish, which is Chanel makeup art nail polishes. She would always make fun of me and make me feel this big.
Wow.
So we would have an event, and she would always call me out and tell me, I don't like your liner, I don't like your lipstick, I don't like your nail polish, and you know what? I don't like you having this tattoo at all. Because I had a cross tattoo. And so I pulled her on the side. I said, you know what? I don't think it's the makeup. I think you just don't like me, period. The way my color is.
Wow.
So I called her out. And I quit. The next day, I was watching this Chanel fashion show. This one lady, she had this on.
Oh, wow.
The next day after I quit. So then, you know, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I love doing makeup. So I got a job inside Sephora. And I was in there for about 6 years. And every 6 months, we would get a review. And they would ask us, our manager, where do you want to be at, Maria, 10 years from now? Where do you see yourself at? And I made a comment. I said, you know what? I'm going to LA to do celebrities makeup. And she said, are you effing kidding me? And I said, did I just say that? Did I just say I'm going to go to LA and do celebrities makeup? Like, even I asked myself, how am I going to do that? Like, who am I to do that? That's like LA coming from San Francisco. So then the following year, I'm with my husband. He pushed me, let's go to LA, let's try it. He moved me there. I left my children. I even left him. I got me a 1-bedroom apartment, no bed, no TV, no couch, no nothing. It's just my TV and a red box. He got me a DVD. Every night I would cry. I was like, oh my gosh, is this what I wanted? To do makeup? But my gut is telling me you can go for your dream, you can follow it, you just gotta focus. And so I had had my parents' support. I left my kids. I had a son who's like asking me every day, when are you coming back? That's hard.
Yes.
So, so my husband moved the kids. He moved the kids. But let me tell you this. I was watching a Redbox. I rented a movie. I was watching this movie called Black Coffee. You guys heard of that?
I know the movie.
I was like, oh my gosh. So I was watching Black Coffee. I was like, who are those people? I never seen these actresses or actors or whatever. And then I saw this one guy, Christian Keys. And so I started following him. And then his director got a hold of me. And then he said, Maria, me and him were messaging each other on Instagram. And I love social media because you can actually get a hold of someone without, like, who is this person? Like, how am I going to find him? So, one day he approached me and said, you know what, can I take you out to dinner and talk about business? So I brought my son with me, and he offered me a job. He gave me a chance. A month later, my husband sat with me, and he was like, those were the people that you were watching a month ago, and you're working with every single one of them.
Wow.
Goodness.
You manifested it.
Oh my
You
goodness.
manifested it. You saw it and manifested it.
And so I said, you know what, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going. So then I kept watching this movie, and I was just out there, like, like branding myself. I was really working. And so there's another movie that I watched, and my husband was like, oh my God, it's happening again. You're here. We're like eating next to them. And you're touching their face. And this is me doing somebody's face. This is the guy I was watching, and and it felt so good. But then part of me is like, you know what? I had to focus on the kids, and I felt like me as a mother. I just felt like I can't go too far because I still have my children there, and but I have my man's support, and he's always there. Like, whatever you do, I'm gonna take care of the kids, and I love that.
How wonderful.
And then after that, I just started working long hours, and then pushing it, and then working in that industry. I even got hired to do a scene, and I played an Asian assassin, and it will be in Netflix soon.
Yes.
So, for being a makeup artist, moving to LA, working for BET as an assistant makeup artist for the family business, and acting, my husband and I, we spoke, and we said, you know what, maybe you working in LA is just like your how do I say this? It's just your warm-up. So we're going to take that somewhere else. And then so, you know what? I don't want to live Hollywood, LA style, so I'm going to take myself to North Carolina. Where the cost of living is great. We can, afford, live life. I like the trees and stuff like that, So it's going pretty well. I even had lunch with a director of the Charlotte Fashion Week. She took me out to lunch. It went well. I got approached by a talent agent, which is modeling. I signed a contract. It went well. So now I met this lady right here. It's going well.
Yeah.
And I'm actually designing my own shirt. It's about women empowerment.
Nice.
And so that's coming soon. And I know that's going to go well.
Yes.
So for me, actually, it's just being close to God, follow your dream, don't let anybody sidetrack you. You have to balance when it comes to your kids, your husband, your work. Just balance and make sure you communicate with the person who's supporting you and keep going.
And you were able to manifest it because your husband could see it too.
Yes.
So when you had both of you believing
Right.
that it could be achieved,
And
you manifested it right into the physical.
I love the fact that you have someone next to you. You're not alone. Because even when I have my parents doesn't understand my brain. They're just go, okay, do whatever you want, But my husband and I, it's so great to communicate because we always have plans. Even with the children, we have meetings at least once a week. What's going on with your life? And I love that.
Yeah, that's true.
So having a partner that's there for you, I think it's a must. So that's just like the marriage and success to like.
Yeah,
the
that
BS.
is, that's real. And I guess for you, that's what you know what I mean? Everybody's success is different, but for you, that's
totally
what
different,
success
yeah.
is.
And remind you, I didn't
And
have
that's a
anything
blessing.
before. So for me, everything that's coming, I told my husband, everything is such a blessing. I'm not going to complain, because when one door opens, I know there's another one.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be positive and be very outgoing and always respect. And again, don't compare, because I know I'll get there. I have more dreams. It's not over yet.
Right.
No,
I'm just
no,
growing.
no.
And
That's what we're trying to
sometimes
tell them.
you got to get in. It's almost like,
But it's baby steps.
but if you get in it though, sometimes you jump
Mhm.
because it'll get a mind of its own,
Yeah.
and it'll just all of a sudden you find yourself taking off, and that's some of what you did. Because no matter what, you went from doing makeup at Sephora for 6 years to being in a movie. You know, that's
Yes.
it took
Yes.
your
Faith.
decisions. It took a life of its
Right.
own. You didn't even see that one coming.
I didn't see that coming.
You know, so that's great.
That's like
I mean,
from
that is-
taking
that's
the stairs
great.
to taking a transporter on Star Trek.
Right.
You
Yes.
That's great.
I was
That's
thinking
Skip
great.
the elevator altogether.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. So, what do you think, or tell what is it that made you, despite whatever situation you were in, at your darkest moment, you know, before that door opened, before that light came, before, you know, God and everything came and, you know, began to make this change, what was it that was inside of you that made you decide, I'm going to be happy? I'm going to be happy. I can tell you my decision. I was in Virginia, going through a lot of different changes and, you know, totally out of my expectation list, at my bucket list. And I was working at Nordstrom. And, you know, I had a college degree. I had a couple of degrees in the beauty industry. I had my own business, largest nail salon in North Carolina. The reason I know is because I traveled all of North Carolina. A lot of things I had in my little pack. I did not expect to be riding on the escalator at Nordstrom, going upstairs for whatever. I wasn't planning on that. It wasn't in my bucket list. But I had to pay some bills. So I was riding up the escalator, and I was feeling really down because I was going through so much. And I just heard it, you know, in the back of my spirit. You have to decide that you are going to be happy. That's a personal decision.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have to make that decision and stick with it until you get to that point where you are happy. So, do any of you have an idea of when you decided to be happy?
I made the decision to do that, and that's been recently after being homeless. And going from here to here, and the journey went here quickly and it went down quickly, and that was one of the darkest times of my life because, again, I didn't expect to be homeless you're in almost 50 years old. You're not supposed to be homeless at this age. And so going through that dark period, it took a toll on me spiritually and mentally. And, you have to try to find something that you can hold on to get through it. It's like, I know it's not going to last. I know I'm going to get up, but I don't know when and I don't know how, and I can't see it because it's total darkness at this point. And you're just, I'm relying on, my intuition at this point, but happiness is nowhere to be found. Joy is nowhere to be found. And it seems to get worse at times. So, it's like, I need for this to show me just, even if it's just that teeny light that I can see, to let me know that I'm gonna come out of this. And once I saw the light and the opportunity, and I said, okay, well, I put my head down and I knew what I had to do. And it was early this year that I thought about it, and I said, I gotta make a change, and I gotta find this happiness. But it doesn't come, it's not gonna come out of anyone else, a relationship or anyone. It's gonna come strictly, I gotta bring it out of myself, and I gotta find that space where I can start to feel good about who I am. And it's crazy because Spirit would scold me at times when I would have self-doubt and things, the color of my skin, my hair. I was always teased as a kid, and I was skinny. And even in getting older, oh, you look white, oh, you look like this, oh, you look like that. But I had to, Spirit would tell me, stop. Because I would try to straighten my hair when my hair was curly. I would try to fix myself to what people told me that I was supposed to be, because I'm too black to be white and I'm too white to be black. So I would always try to fix myself, and Spirit, and I didn't. I never fit in, and Spirit spoke to me and told me that, stop it. I made you who I made you. And I made you this way because I wanted you this way. So own it and move forward. And early this year, here I go again. I'm older. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. You feel it. You know it. Mentally, everybody tells you who you're supposed to be. You're older, retirement and all these other things that they want to talk about, Social Security. And, we get going to all of this, and you're looking at yourself, and here you are, in your 50s, and you're, in a certain position as far as relationship-wise, and, you're starting from scratch. Financially, you're at the bottom. You've been thrown back 30 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So how, you got to find happiness in that somewhere. And Spirit let me know that, again, I made you, I got you. And that's when I started really seeing all the synchronicities start to ramp up. And I would see stuff where, God is going to bring you out. God is going to, change your situation. God is going to turn it all around for you. God is going to, you're protected. You're taken care of. You know what I mean? I can see it. Oh, yeah.
And I can give her cream on. I'm sorry, Terry. I'm so sorry you had to wait. But we had two interactions of the best. That was the best conversation. That was so awesome. Oh, you have to go?
It's time for you to go.
No, it's, I have 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
we should be wrapping up.